Hi guys, hello humans. This is the Recruiting Maven. I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you guys today because I'm actually recovering, and so last week it was kind of challenging for me to actually do a video. And sorry, of course, all kinds of background noise is happening again. Always seems that way, doesn't it, on a lot of YouTubers? So, but I did, get a lot of questions from you guys, a lot of concerns about unemployment, especially with that whole thing with Brittany. I'm sure a lot of you saw that. I did make a comment. I'm not sure if I'm happy about that or not. It was a little bit not controversial, but certainly it was eye-opening to what people were thinking and how they were approaching that whole conversation. So in the conversation, meaning in the comment section, not the video, but we're going to dive into that because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about that situation that from a recruiting standpoint I don't think it was even addressed. So I wanted to discuss that and add some insights as far as what HR is thinking, right? Again, there's a lot of misconception that HR is there for you. And so we're going to dive into a little bit of that as well. I do have some notes. And by the way, I didn't catch, I didn't get anyone's approval. So I'm not going to include your name on this live stream. So just please be aware that I'm going to keep your name confidential. So let's dive into it. I wanted to start by addressing really the numerous of notifications that I'm getting about layoffs. Recently Texas is just off the charts, just across the entire state. It's ridiculous. I know the unemployment agency gets a lot of notifications, and that's been such a theme that I'm seeing a lot in my notices from that area in particular. I will say that Macy's did announce a reduction, closing of um, five stores nationwide. Two of them are in California, but a reduction in their employees across the corporate and the retail, sort of that frontline type of position. So sorry, I love Macy's. I don't know about you, but I love Macy's. Backstage, anybody fans? So it's unfortunate. It's just seems to be a sign of the times, which honestly, this channel's been about that. Are you prepared? Have you been preparing? Are you upskilling? What are you doing to help yourself when AI comes online? And what is, your game plan? What is a backup plan? Do you have a side gig? So I've been discussing that for 6 years on this channel. So hopefully you have, and we'll get into that as well, but hopefully you have a little bit of a cushion. I want to say that eBay as well is losing about 1,000 employees. 1,000 employees. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's not comparable to Macy's, which is over 2,300, but it's still a lot. LA Times, which is a newspaper for some of you that don't know, they actually are losing 115 employees. The problem with that is that you're saying, well, 115 employees, it's not that big of a deal, but because it's driven by the lack of revenue, which is an astronomical amount, it's estimated between 30 to 40 million dollars in loss of revenue is what I'm hearing. So just so that you know, it's not one industry. I think a lot of people just say, oh, it's retail, or it's whatever. It's none of those things. So just be aware that that's what's happening. And so I want to address some of your concerns about that. And kind of add, talk about the AI factor in all of it, because I think that's really, really important. What I want to say is that I don't think that we've hit our stride in terms of unemployment. I think that it's definitely going to continue this year. The economy is not doing great. And all you have to do is go to the supermarket and you will be able to see what's happening in the economy. Easy. You don't need to go to any site. You don't need to look at stats. You don't need to, and nothing. Just go to the grocery store. That's all you need to do. So enough said about that. What I wanted to next talk to you about is, is really well, let me just take a look. Um, let's talk about Brittany. Sorry, I was just kind of looking for my notes. So let's talk about Brittany, who highly publicized her layoff this past week. And I was not well, so I wasn't able to speak to that at the time. So sorry about that. But the video was called Tech Employees Records Herself Getting Fired. Oh, there's lots to unpack. so let's settle back with a strong cup of coffee because I think we all need that. At least I did. I first and foremost, I will say from a recruiting standpoint, I was mortified because the internet is forever. She is going to certainly have that recorded for an eternity. And even if she deletes it herself on her end on TikTok, there's somebody else that's already uploaded that, that video, and, it just keeps passing on and getting copied. So, what is HR going to say about that moving forward? Are they going to extend an offer to somebody like that? So, let's start off by saying that sales is a cutthroat job. No questions asked. I've hired anywhere from an entry-level salesperson, sort of that SDR, BDR kind of a role, to a director. So bottom line is, if you're not hitting your numbers, you're not hitting your number. Notwithstanding the mere fact that, yes, there is a ramping up period, and usually it could be anywhere between 3 to 6 months, and then sort of the clock starts ticking. So in viewing her particular video, what struck me is that she didn't have that opportunity to, go through the training appropriately and then get that, that clock ticking, and so I just get the feeling that there was something else underneath in terms of reasoning. I think it probably was more financials. We're seeing a lot of companies having financial difficulties. This is unprecedented times in terms of the economy, so there's that. And you know what? Bottom line, your performance is your performance, though, right? I have seen directors being terminated, and it's not fun. Luckily, I'm not in HR. And by the way, recruiters are not HR. Those people are over there in a different bucket, as they say. I think the assumption is that recruiters are HR, and we're sort of a branch of HR, if you will. I try to distance myself to a certain extent because I have my personal views on them, although they can be incredibly helpful and I appreciate them. And I'll get into my reasoning in a little bit. But, bottom line is HR is missing the human factor in their title. So I just don't feel, and in all my years of recruitment, which has been over 12 years, 6 of which has been as a contractor, what I can tell you is that I think HR is missing the human aspect of it. And here's the reason for that. Basically, and let me adjust sorry about this. I think you can see too much of my my ceiling. But here's the thing. HR is there essentially to protect the company's interest. They're not there to protect your interest. I know a lot of people think that HR is this warm and fuzzy kind of, feel good, place or person to go if you have any problems, somebody's harassing you, or something's is going wrong in your department, and you maybe just need to vent and maybe get some ideas on how to cope and engage a person in handling a difficult situation. And I would say, stop. Don't do that. There are better ways of approaching HR, but ultimately, I can tell you that HR is hired by the company to really address and mitigate risk for them, not for you, for them. Who's paying their check? The company, not you. And so I think a lot of people just don't understand that a bit about HR. So in essence, they're there to mitigate risk, make sure that that liability window is closing as tightly as possible. And, sometimes, and I've heard this a lot, unfortunately, but what happens is the person's bringing up that issue to HR. A lot of times they get terminated, and that's a lot to unpack. And I will tell you, I can't give you a case study because I'm not HR, but I hear some of the rumblings thereafter, and it's just, yeah, it's just scary. It's just really scary. So if there's a potential for you to sue them, they're going to really step in between and mitigate that as quickly as possible. End of story. So HR is not there for you. Sorry. If you didn't know that, again, sorry. Um, the other thing that I wanted to say though is if again, if you're recording yourself, and kind of going back to Brittany, and I do wish her the best of luck in finding a new job, but I will tell you that's that's not necessarily a great look. And I'm not trying to be insensitive because, I've been unemployed many times. I'm a contractor. It's sort of I'm going from one contract to the other, and there's anxiety and all that. And I'm very well aware of that situation. But, again, it's just that video is going to be around forever. And so how is that new employer going to look at that, right? That's or even HR, which I touched on earlier. So, that may not be have been the best idea. I know people want to support her. It was very emotional. I got emotional. I commented down below in that video. But just so that people would understand, it's like, listen, you guys, you have to understand that HR is not there for you. Did you know that? And there's a huge thread on that if you want to check it out. But it was like, wow, people really just don't know that. That's why I'm repeating myself, because I want to make sure I'm driving that home to you. It doesn't really matter what the netizens are saying. It really doesn't. This isn't a court of, this netizens. Are they going to be able to overturn her termination? No. It doesn't matter what people say on the internet. That company had to make decisions based on their bottom line. And that's what exactly happened. So, do I like the way it was delivered? No. I remember a couple of years back, I won't name names, but a very large company decided to email their terminations. And that was just, the complaints were just unprecedented. And so I understand that, again, where is the human portion of human resources, right? And when the human resource person was asked, and again, I just don't want to name names, but they said, listen, 1,500 people is too many people to even address on a personal level. That's just, I'd be here till, next year trying to, book appointments and make everything happen. So, hard business decisions, but at the end of the day, it is a business. It isn't anything personal. There used to be a saying, it's not personal, it's just business. And it really is. They're not your family. I know a lot of people want to say, hey, this is my company that I work for is my family. No, they're not. They're paying you. Therefore, you're beholden to them. They essentially have the last say. And let's face it, a lot of states, your contract on it that you sign when you're onboarding with a company is an at-will state, meaning that they can terminate you anytime for any reason. They really don't need to tell you a specific reason. Case in point, Brittany, right? And so a lot of people just don't read their contracts. I have a whole video on, contract versus permanent employment. That's still, one of my bigger videos. They're getting still a lot of views. And so it's just people don't read their contract. And that is so incredibly challenging, to say, at the back end, when you've gotten terminated or laid off, like, did you read your contract? Well, don't say that. That's very insensitive. Well, yes, it is insensitive, but did you read your contract? Because if you didn't read your contract, how do you know if you have any recourse? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. What state you live in will give you some of that recourse, versus if you live in California, there's, I think, 9 states in the United States. And honestly, I think most Companies have adopted the at will kind of clause in your employment contracts. So that means, again, that they can terminate you at any time for any reason. So just be aware. Sorry, my hair's attacking me. It's annoying me. And you know what? I wanted to do this live stream just so that, I become a little bit more approachable. I think that I haven't in the past. And so many, I've been doing this for so many years. And for me, it started out as a hobby and a way to rant. And most importantly, for me, it was a way to educate people on the hiring process. They don't really know what recruiters do and what hiring managers are thinking and what HR is thinking. And so I wanted to provide sort of a platform on my channel to give you that information as well. Yes, AI, is incredibly important, which is the foundation for my platform. But oftentimes we just don't understand the hiring process. And we assume that recruiters are also there and they're beholden to us and they should move us forward just because we're qualified. And, when you're experiencing, as a recruiter, when you're experiencing a high volume of applicants, especially nowadays when you have all these automated systems that will apply for anything and everything, and it's crazy. You're looking at, I've sometimes had as many as 600 applicants for one job opening. And I could sit there all day and all night for days just trying to review your information. And that's not a good look for me, because then how do I get to the other 60 requisitions that I'm responsible for? So there's that. And I can assure you that AI is going to be doing the heavy lifting on that. I've done a video on that, the application process. Actually, now I've done 3 videos on that. So check those out because it's so important. I think it's going to make a huge, huge difference, how you're going to be perceived and how recruiters are perceiving you and how AI is perceiving you. So go check those videos out. I think it's important for you to understand the nuts and bolts of it so that you can be sort of that top candidate and rise to the top based on that information. So with that said, hopefully you feel I will be able to continue to do these, not just because, last week I wasn't feeling that great, but because it's important to sometimes just, chat with somebody and ask them questions. And oftentimes we don't have that luxury to ask a real live recruiter, what are you thinking? What's happening? Why am I not being, why isn't somebody getting back to me? And so done a lot of those videos. I will reserve that for a later time. But so moving on. So and by the way, one of the my more one of the videos that I'm having more views on lately, I mean, it's just exploding, that video, is how to have difficult conversation with your boss. And that one's just some of you have been emailing me, and actually, because you go on my website and just email me directly. Others have commented and others have gone on social media. But what I can say is the consensus is, it's, and I want to break it down for you because this is such a big topic, apparently, according to you guys. So having difficult conversations with your boss, first and foremost, if you're mad, don't walk into his office or don't have an argument with that person in the hallway, or even have a conversation with your boss in the hallway where everybody else can hear you about what the issue is that you're having with either your boss or somebody else or a team or another department. Don't do that. It's just a bad look. It's not professional, bottom line. If you want to get the most traction out of that conversation, do make an appointment with that person, with your boss, whoever that is. Caution you in HR, having a conversation with HR. But if you do decide to have a conversation with HR and your boss, what I would say is, or even that person, because sometimes you can have or give that person an opportunity to clarify. Maybe they were just having a bad day. Maybe they're going through something very difficult. I used to have a business developer that literally sat directly adjacent to me at the opposite desk, and he was going through this horrific divorce. And I can say that because he would pick up the phone and we could all hear him in the office as to what he was saying to his lawyer. I mean, to what he was saying to his future ex-wife. I mean, it was a whole thing. And so it was just, we all felt bad for him. But at the end of the day, it was like, nobody wants to get dragged into that. It's just, that's his personal life. I have tremendous compassion. We try to work with that. And at the end of the day, we just couldn't. We actually ended up going to our boss, and I was elected to go. So this is something that I learned myself. So what I did is, look, I started documenting every time he was on the phone. He would speak loudly, and it was just so disruptive. And I would turn around to my coworkers, and they would start to signal me like, he's getting on my nerves, or I can't hear the person on the phone because he's yelling at his wife or his divorce lawyer, whatever. And so that became just a whole thing at the office. And so, okay, so for like a week or two, I just, would just document that. And then I made an appointment with my boss, because I just honestly, I felt that just I was very uncomfortable to engage him. I knew he was like very emotional, and I just didn't want to come across as being an insensitive person, that I didn't value him because we work so closely together. My clients were the product of his work, right? And so I just felt really bad, and I just, again, the emotional side, I wasn't sure if he was just really going to go off the handle either. So I went to my boss and I said, listen, I want to make an appointment with you. And he's like, what's wrong? Let's talk about it now. And I said, you know what? No, because it's a small office and I don't feel comfortable. Even if it was a larger office, I've worked in very large buildings, and I still would have said, listen, I don't, I either will, talk during our regular meeting hours, or can I talk to you in the morning, early in the morning, or later after everyone's gone, because I don't want to be singled out either. And again, it was more about that other person's feelings, right? I didn't want to have that person feel, like, why are you saying that? I'm going through a lot. You're being insensitive. That kind of a conversation. So I wanted to, you know, make everyone work together better, more efficiently, for us to, we were getting along. That wasn't the issue, but we just didn't know how to handle those very abrupt and just explosive phone conversations, right? That he was having. So I documented it all. And I said, let's have a meeting. So I came in during our set appointment, and I discussed it, and I said, here's da 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 da. I didn't give him like, my whole dissertation. It wasn't like, 1,000 pages worth of documentation. I'm like, this happens consistently. It's happened in the last week 3, 4 times. I can tell you that looking around in the office, it's very disruptive. People are getting up and leaving, going to the lunch room and going to go grab coffee, or I'm going to take a break, kind of a thing. Sorry for moving you. So I just made it, 3 to 4 bullets at the time, and I kept it very simple. And I said, listen, I want to make sure that we're helping him. This isn't about singling that person out, but I want to make sure that, things go a little bit smoother. If he needs the time to talk to his lawyer or his wife or whatever, have him go outside or go into an office better, right? So that he can be relaxed and have that conversation, and we will all be happy. Nothing else further needed to happen. And I offered that resolution, because here's the other thing: your boss or whoever will ask you for a resolution. So if you're not prepared, you're then giving them an opportunity to provide you with a resolution that you may or may not like. And ugh, that could be bad. So be prepared. Don't just come in saying, these are my grievances. Have some kind of resolution or some kind of idea of what you would like to see. And if what they're proposing, what your boss may be proposing, you're not comfortable with, and say, listen, can I think about that? I'm not sure. Can I get back to you tomorrow? Would that be okay? So that you're not so pressed for making a quick decision that you're going to regret in the next day or two. And so it sometimes may be sort of, oh, I'm just looking for a great resolution. Yeah, I'll take whatever you're going to offer me. No. No, because there may be resolutions that may sound really good at the, up front, but may not be on the back end. And sorry, my ring light is making my eyes water, and I'm still in recovery mode, so bear with me. Um, so I think that that was one of the biggest concerns that a lot of you have been having. Um, Again, just a lot of difficult conversations. I will say that if you decide to, instead of go to your boss initially, you're going to have that conversation with that coworker, and you're a little hesitant. Make sure that they're not on that edge, whether you know that or not. Try, just kind of look how they're behaving, because you don't want to get into a confrontation that might get violent. So I just want to caution you to just kind of review that before you decide to confront that person. And always, when you have to tell the truth and when you have to deliver bad news, always deliver them with words of kindness. I think all of us would appreciate that. I've, gone through some difficult issues myself, and I've always appreciated that people have been kind to me. So let's say, you know what? I didn't realize I was doing that. Thank you for bringing that up. How can I, do you have any suggestions? Or I wasn't aware of that. Let me think about it, and, I'll work on it, and let's circle back in a week or two, right? Sorry, I'm using corporate language, circle back. Even I don't like corporate language. And then the other thing is, one of you reached out to me on LinkedIn and very concerned, very, very concerned. Um, have had the person has now, and I've known this person for many, many years. I tried to recruit her at one point, and it's always fun when people like that reach out to me on LinkedIn. So I always appreciate that, and feel free to connect with me and reach out. I actually do respond to pretty much everybody. The ones I don't respond to are the telemarketers, or somebody who's selling me something that I absolutely don't need. But with that said, she reached out to me and said, "Listen, I have now decided to move away from the education industry. I'm no longer a teacher. I may take it up, maybe a sort of a seasonal thing, or maybe a substitute kind of a situation. I may consider that, but want to increase my tutoring services." And I said, "Well, that's wonderful. Congratulations. How can I support you?" And she said, "My biggest challenge right now is those big box tutoring services. It's so hard to compete with them." And I'm like, "Yes, 100%. I can commiserate with you. It's very, very challenging." I used to run an RPO desk, meaning that I ran not only my desk as a recruiter, and also I ran, like a staffing agency that would feed me candidates for a certain division of the business. So it was very challenging, and so there's been a lot of a job loss for recruiters based on that kind of business model, where you just have people feeding you candidates all day long, and you don't have to hire a recruiter, you don't have to pay them, they don't have to even be a contractor. So that there's a lot of companies moving into that model. And I'm not going to get into much of that because it's not relevant, but my point is that I can commiserate with her. So I said to her, "You're great at networking. I would say just ramp that up, start sending those emails like as quickly as possible." And I do have, and I've done a lot of videos on that, as well as you can check out um, my website. It's got a lot of resources there, especially for those of you who are looking for sort of revamping of your resume. There's a lot of AI prompts. I priced it very reasonably. Again, I'm just trying to be sensitive to you and what you're facing these days. But getting back to her, I made a few of the my proposals or my advice to her was: revamp your resume, get in contact with everyone you know on your network. Make sure that, like, hey, who do you know who has a kid that may need some tutoring? Can you please forward, my information to them? Let me, and of course, I said to her, make a flyer so that you can shoot it out to your network, so it's easy to, like, hit forward on that email and people are just getting your email. And that's a great way of approaching more business quickly. Networking, by far, anything else you can do is better than anything else, in my personal opinion. I know a lot of you love TikTok, but she's more of, sort of a grassroots in her local area. And so some of those things are not as useful to her. I will say though, so another thought for you as well would be, there is a little app called Neighborhood. And so if you have sort of like a little business, maybe you are very crafty and you have, you make whatever jewelry or, whatever it is, that you could sell on there. And the actual advert costs are very minimal. So, when I looked at LinkedIn to be able to promote my job hunting journal, it was crazy money. So, this would be another way or another platform for you to be on a local level, expand your network as well. So, networking, that email to your network, to go to neighborhood.com. It's not sponsored, by the way. I just use them. I always try and track, see what's happening in my neighborhood. I almost think it's kind of gossipy in a way. It's kind of borderlines that, but I think it'd be really, really helpful to her. The other thing is, if you absolutely need to make fast money because you've been laid off and now you're, going off unemployment, what you can do is go to your local hardware store. They will one interview and they will hire you. So that's your Lowe's, your Home Depot. My happy place is Home Goods. I've always said this. I even did a video many years ago on Home Goods. They will hire you on the spot. So, where you could have gone maybe to Macy's and, had, maybe a one or two interviews. I think Macy's would have been a little bit more of an interview cycle, but those are going away. So, think out of the box, right? Even if maybe you're saying to yourself, well, I'm holding out for that great job. Well, you may have to do what you may have to do for the time being. I know someone in my network that just took, an $80,000 pay cut. So that happens. I remember 2008, for those of you who were around for that recession, I had software engineers that were actually taking $30,000 to $40,000 pay cuts back then. Now I'm seeing somebody taking an $80,000 pay cut. That's insane to me, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And so put that on your resume, and say, look, I was just kind of in between jobs. I needed to make money. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I'm of the opinion that if somebody is sort of prejudiced to that, it's like, why would you want to work for somebody like that? There's that human factor, right? Are you going to be human, or are you just going to look at my resume and not understand that maybe I was going through a difficult period in my life? And so I think that that's fair. We're all human. Be human, be considerate, be compassionate. And I think that that's one of my most driving reasons for still being in this industry. I think that, recruitment gets a lot of negative feedback because we tend to, some people have called me like a used car salesman. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see that, because we technically are salespeople. We're not HR people. And I get that. I get that. And I get where it might seem insensitive, because we're accountable to our metrics. How many have you filled? How fast did you fill those jobs? That's where our money comes from as well. So I try to be nurturing to my candidates. I keep in touch with a lot of you, as you well know, on social media platforms. And so for the guys in India, hey, I talk to a lot of you often. So that's always awesome. So I do have some jobs, by the way, in engineering coming up. So that'll be awesome. And I've already contacted one of you about that. So be on the lookout. I want to start posting jobs on my website as well. So I want to take a moment real quick to say, listen, I do have a lot of resources for you. The AI prompting for resume improvement, resume refinement is really great. Again, I was very mindful of the economy and what people are up against these days. So it's budget friendly. It's a lot of content in that. So do enjoy that, you know, $2, $3. Some of them are just $2, $3. Sometimes I will do a video in which I will just upload an easy downloadable because maybe there's a lot of content I think that would be valuable to you. So just go on the website and download it. Some of them are for free. I will continue to upload, but listen, I'm a one person shop. So if I'm sick, you know, I'm going to be not on camera for a week or two, however long that takes, but bear with me. I do plan on having some fun with it, having some merch coming up. So if you see that tab, that's why it's empty. And then I do want to also do some fun events. I think for my first training session on AI and improving your resume with AI prompts that I'm really excited about. I'm just going to make it a nominal fee just to cover just the expenses. So maybe, you know, $5, $10, whatever it may be. And then all the downloadables and everything will be for free. So, you know, I just really want to do that so that I can get some feedback from you guys as to, you know, what you like, what you don't like. And so for those early birds, you know, that'll be fun. And I'm really looking forward to that. So there's that. I am taking some AI classes. Are you? What are you doing about this AI thing that's happening? How are you improving your current career? Are you doing anything about it? Do you understand AI? I mean, I could sit here and ask you a ton of questions, but this is something that I always say to you and have been saying for the last 6 years on my channel. What are you doing when AI comes live? And now that it's live, what are you doing to stay afloat in your career? And how are you using that to enhance your business if you're doing a side gig? Side hustle, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's important. I really, really think is important. Lastly, I will leave you with this, and that is that I do have the job hunting journal, and I do have it right here. I will say that here's the thing, and it's I am going to put it on sale, by the way. I'm not happy, by the way, with Amazon and how they're printing it. That's a whole nother layer. So I'm going to put it on sale for a short time till I find a better publisher. Unfortunately, you know, they have too many print on demand third party printers, and so I'm very unhappy with Amazon. So, and I'm very blunt about it. I'm going to definitely talk to them about later about the issues. But here's the thing. I built this and I created this because as a contractor for well over 6 years, I used to experience a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress and a lot of worry and a lot of sleepless nights. And that is the reality. I'm not making this up. This is just my life. And so for me, I started to write down things that would help me. You know, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything like that, but it's like, what's going to make me feel better? How am I going to help myself? And so that's what's in here. It's just exercises to make you think, to ground yourself, because whenever you're hit by a life changing situation like a layoff or even a termination, the biggest thing that will anchor you is to have a format for you to do every single day so it grounds you. And then you start to feel a little bit more stable, a little bit more balanced, a little bit more grounded. And I think that's incredibly important. And that's what it made me feel. So, this is about sharing that experience with you. Um, Literally, there's my quotes are in here of bad days. When I was having bad days, I would just write myself like, you know, a feel good quote so that I would read it all day long or that week or all of them. So some of them are in here. Those are the ones that mean the most to me. I will tell you though, and it's you may call it a shameless plug, I don't know. I think this is just something that's really heartfelt for me. So there's that. Something that some of you not some of you, but a lot of YouTubers, a lot of recruiters, and a lot of career coaching YouTube channels don't talk about. And that's my other book. And this is not a shameless plug, but here's the thing: when you're stuck in a difficult situation where there's no income coming in, did you prepare for that? Now, this is a food preparedness for apartment dwellers. I've been through a lot of emergencies, let me tell you. I have a very colorful life, and I'll tell you about this. And so, you know, you just have to laugh. But here's the thing: if you have prepped, if you have some backup food that you can reach for yourself, for your family, whatever your situation is at home, this is what preps you. It's literally 39 pages. You can download it for $5, and I will link it after this video as well. Copy and paste all the lists I have for you. It's like a no-brainer. And for $5, I think it's great. It is geared for apartment dwellers. By the way, this is my author copy, so it's got that little thing. But here's the thing: I think it's really important to be prepared, and sometimes you never know what's going to happen. And so, with rising food costs and things like that, I am concerned, and I started to write this because, again, I've been through a lot of different things in life. I should write a book about that too. But I think it's going to help you to kind of flip that switch into how you're spending your money every single day or every single week, or what are you doing on a monthly basis in terms of food preparation, food stability. And so this is just 39 pages, $5, not a big deal, but just make sure you're prepared. Times are tough. I think that they're going to continue, unfortunately, and I'm not being a negative Nelly about it. I'm just very pragmatic by nature. I have been stuck in remote locations in the middle of the high desert, in the middle of an earthquake, while I was gassing up my car. And I'm thinking, am I going to make it through the next 2 seconds? So, lots of things, and I talk about this in the book. It's lots of things that you just like, that's never going to happen to me. Okay, I hope not, but regardless, just want to say thank you so much for always supporting my channel. I'm still healing, so forgive me. There's a lot going on with my eyes and tiredness. But regardless, I will have a video for you guys again next week. Can't thank you enough, again, for all your likes, shares, and subscriptions. I'm just tickled to death. I'm coming back to the channel after being gone for almost a year and a half, and I see my channel growing. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Excuse me, sinuses are acting up. But it's just so nice to be able to share my experience. Again, I'm not a professional career coach. I'm just going to tell you how it is from a frontline, boots on the ground recruiter. So, I try to give it to you straight, be kind as I'm doing it. Whatever bad news I have to deliver to you, try to be kind at all levels. And I always enjoy your comments. Most of your comments actually come from LinkedIn and social media, by the way. But do check out some of those other playlists. I think they'll be very helpful to you, like AI, how to apply with the onset of AI, and how does that really work? Because there's so many videos of people who are career advisors that have no idea. They've never been a recruiter. They have no clue as to what we're actually doing. They only know what they know because somebody else told them, or maybe they were a recruiter, but they were a recruiter 15 years ago and they're no longer a recruiter. But I'm going to tell you what it's like. So check those videos out. Thank you so much for your support, and have a lovely rest of your day.